Welcome to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hammond, and on today's episode, we're chatting with Mark Vivian from Movac. Mark is off NZ1 from San Francisco back into Wellington to talk to me about how they've raised $600 million through Movac and their funds and how they've gone about investing it. And what I'm hoping to do today is pull the kimono a little bit back on the VC funds and talk to VCs about how they go about doing this. Like, what are they looking for? What can we get better at in terms of pitch decks? What do they really need to see? What's bullshit and what's real? And so Mark's a great guy. I really like and respect him, and I'm sure we're going to have a really good, robust conversation on this. And so I hope you enjoy it. And so this is your opportunity to jump on and subscribe now before we start the podcast. If you haven't, get back there and do it, or do it afterwards. Promise me, because we're blowing up now, and I'm really enjoying seeing all these numbers, and I'd love you to be on the bus with us. And so let's get ready to roll, and let's do this.
Kia ora. Thanks for tuning in to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast, brought to you by Talent Army.
Because you're on the board with some government stuff, aren't you? Or you're a director?
Yes, I'm on the board of New Zealand Green Investment Finance. We're providing both debt and equity to businesses and opportunities that can reduce New Zealand's GHG profile. Partnering with the private sector. So, we've got a lot going on in that space. There's a government announcement yesterday. We've got another $300 million to work with. So great validation of what we're doing, but I still, it's a massive problem that we need to fix.
Yeah.
I do think that New Zealand's got a role to play, quite clearly. There's some fantastic innovative ideas and businesses, not only in the climate space, but generally, they just need the right capital, the structure, support and around them to really smack it out of the park.
And so when you say New Zealand's got a bigger role to play, do you mean New Zealand government, or do you mean just New Zealand in general?
I think if we look back across history in a whole bunch of different areas, we've been fantastic innovators. We haven't been shy of having the first crack at things. And I think we do like a challenge. We go about in a different style to say our American, Australian counterparts. But give us a challenge. Kiwis are pretty good at having a go.
Yeah, it's funny. I mentioned to you off here before. I had a lunch with Ron Simpson the other day. Fantastic guy. I love that guy's brain and how he chats. And he was hilarious, right? So I sent him a text and said, "Hey man, when are you coming on the podcast?" And he sent me probably 1,000 words on why he would or wouldn't come on the podcast. And he was like, "What am I trying to sell? What's everyone trying to sell actually, Troy? When someone comes on the podcast, what are they selling? Are they selling themselves out of obscurity? Are they selling their product? Are they selling their vision? Are they selling something?" And I was like, well, everyone's kind of selling something, right? But a couple of things we talked about were early stage startups and that number 8 why methodology, is that holding us back? That number 8 why. And then the second thing was he doesn't believe tall poppy exists. He believes that we should remove that from a narrative. And so I disagreed with him on the tall poppy thing because I sort of see it a little bit firsthand. But the number 8 why thing, I agree. It does hold us back a little bit with this ingenuity of just getting shit done in the early days.
Yep. So, yeah, I do agree with that. The tall poppy thing's really interesting. I came back from the States 2001, and I think for me, my perspective, the tall poppy thing was really quite evident, and I do think quite limiting. I think it's different now. I think it's the fallen poppy. The person that's tried and failed. How do we treat those folks? How do we build them back up again so they can go again, have another go? Also, if we're not treating those people who have failed in the right way, it is a really big hurdle or put off for those people that do want to have a go.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way that that would be my 2 cents worth. Because I think if you look at the American mindset, as long as you succeed more times than you fail, you're a winner, right?
Yeah. Well, what's your take as an investor, right? So I've tried to remove the word failure from my vocabulary, right? And even on the podcast, I've tried to say attempt. People have taken attempts because I'm trying to get it to that, in startups are attempts, right? And some you fail, some you don't. But the attempts that you take bring you closer to something, right? It's a skill set of stack of skill set that we're adding to our repertoire to move forward.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also failures and successes within a startup itself. You can have a series of chapters. Some were successful, some weren't. But as long as the end point or the final trajectory is upward and positive, that's the net score, if you like. And I do think that the way that we treat people, we started talking about politicians. we want the best people in the right place at the right time, right? So why would you want to rag on people when they're taking up the responsibility, the challenge? Wouldn't you want to support them along the way?
Yeah.
And that's how we think about it when we're looking at companies, evaluating Troy, what he's got, what's the raw ingredients, where does he want to get to, what's the role that we play in terms of capital, connections, experience. What do we need to wrap around him as an entrepreneur to give him the best possible chance of success?
Yeah, I 100% believe and agree with you. And I think I'll openly admit that it probably took me until having some success as a business owner to have an empathy for people that have been before me or after me and say, this shit's fucking hard, right? And anyone that wants to have a go at it, I absolutely take my hat off to you, because getting to a point where you can say, well, I've got somewhat of a success now, has been so many attempts and so much failure within that same company to get to that point from the end. And so, yeah, I definitely have a lot more empathy now. But I used to I remember as a young recruiter, right? I'd be in group chats where we talk shit about some people, we not talk shit, but people text and go, oh, do you hear about so-and-so trying to do that thing? Oh, stupid, And I'd be like, yeah, fucking stupid idea. Now I've completely changed the narrative, and I'll say, I might say, well, I wouldn't invest personally, but good luck to them. I hope it succeeds, wherever it may be. And
absolutely. And I think, there's two sides of the game, right? There's those people who are standing on the sideline watching the game, and the people that were in the game. Only the people who were in the game knew what happened at that point in time, that key decision that needed to be made, versus those people standing on the sideline commentating or prospecting.
Yeah, as a coach of sports, that's pretty evident to me right now. I'm coaching my son's soccer team, and I don't know nothing about soccer. I got roped into it because no one else wanted to do it. And all of a sudden, everyone on the sideline screaming out what I should be doing. And I was like, where the fuck were you? And I said, I didn't want to coach.
my little Johnny needs to come on now. He's been sitting on the sideline for 10 minutes. What's the story, Troy?
I know, yeah.
He's the best player on the team, by the way.
Yeah, everyone's the best player on the team,
absolutely.
By the way. Yeah. Except for my son. He's great, but as the coach's son, you never get the right opportunity, do you?
Exactly. As long as you don't give your son the Player of the Year award at the end of the year, you're fine.
Yeah. I wish my dad did that, because I was the Player of the Year in many respects. But so as someone who invests, so let's talk about this person, right? They probably had 3 attempts at a startup, at a SaaS startup. They might have got seed capital on 3 attempts. They might have had a go at it, but none took off for whatever reasons. How do you analyze the person and the attempts? Talk me through the process of what you're thinking.
Well, I think there's 2 sides of it. What are they trying to do with the next attempt? Mm-hmm. How do they think through that? How would they structure and plan out that next journey? And as part of figuring out what that plan looks like, understanding where they've been in the past, what do they do wrong, what those key decision points that they made, if they had that chance again, how would they make them differently, or would they make the same decision? So I think it's really important that, to a degree, the founder, the leader, is somewhat self-reflective to a point. But we're buying into what does the future look like? What's your role in that, and what's the solution you've got to attack the future? That's the critical thing.
Yeah.
I think
I might give you an example here, right? So Adam from WeWork,
yes,
all right, comes to you. WeWork's failed. The founder of WeWork is Adam something like that. Yeah. He's come to you and he's like, I've got this idea about property, which or whatever that thing that he's doing now, right? And he comes in and says, I want to pitch to you. Talk me through what are you feeling before he comes in? What are you thinking? All right, I definitely need to talk to him about this.
I think Adam, what was the story? Mm-hmm. How did you treat your investors? Talk to those investors. I think the way that people treat capital is pretty important when you're evaluating. Do we back them with more capital again? Mm-hmm. So I think their story, their perspective again. What would they do differently? That's what we would be digging into alongside Adam. This new gig. How you think about that? What's the size of the market? What's the unique solution you've got to take on this market? What's the sort of team that you need in and around you? Would you bring some of the people from your WeWork days through? If so, why? I think you've got to come in with a fairly open mind, but be cognizant of what's happened in the past. Because I think the way that people have treated others in the past will be a good perspective on how you will be treated in the future. So I think if you want it to be an investment journey with not too many surprises, dig into that beforehand before you write that check. Because once you've written that check, it's hard to get that back, and you're tied in together, right? A lot of these investment relationships will outlast marriages and other personal relationships. Once you're in, you're in. It's really hard to get rid of one another.
Do you take the social pressure of what people think about that founder into play? Is that something that you think about?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I think everyone's got their own story. I think we need to back our own conviction and back the conviction of the founder. We're going to be working with one another in good times and bad for the next 3, 5, 10 years. How is that going to play out? I think one of the popular criticisms of Movac as an investor is we're slow in making decisions. I think where we've written checks really quickly at scale, that's when it's come to bite us. We've discovered things about the founder, their plan that have been somewhat surprising to us. And this is going right back to the early days.
Yeah. Well, let's go back there, right? So tell me about the Movac story, right? How did that come to play? Season 2, I've decided with season 2, I'm trying to get the non-marketing PR version of the story, right? So tell me the real story of how it all started, why it started, etc.
Absolutely. Look, you go back 25 years ago, you had 3 founders, Mark, Phil, and Richard. A systems integration business. A couple of them had spun out of Deloitte. They knew how to build a services business, and that was the origins of Movac.
Trade Me was their first investment, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. What happened was, that business, the services business, was spitting off good cash. Yep. It gave them a pool of money to invest in early stage companies. Going back in time, Sam was one of their employees, was working with AMR. Came to them one night with an idea. This is what I've been working on, and the rest is history. So, Trade Me was one of the first seed investments that those 3 made. A couple of the others didn't go quite so well. You sort of think the return out of Trade Me at that point, they should have probably stopped investing and moved on to something different. But what it did give those 3 was the capital and the enthusiasm to continue to double down. So the first 2 funds were really reinvesting the Trade Me proceeds back into new businesses. I got involved at the end of the second fund. So I lived next door to Phil. Mm-hmm. At that time, one of the Movac founders. And we didn't really know what one another did for probably the first year. The typical Kiwi thing. Oh, g'day Phil, g'day Mark. Bit of chit-chat about the lawns and the weather and the hurricanes.
Yeah.
It was only when we ran into one another at a co-working space in Auckland. He looked at me through the glass. I looked at him through the glass. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And we sort of got talking about what each of us was doing. And look, I was working for Stephen Tyndall at the time, Stephen Tyndall and David Teese, around this idea called KIA, the Kiwi Expat Association. Mm-hmm. This idea we've got this massive diaspora offshore, but how connected are they with New Zealand? And then can they provide some sort of economic benefit for businesses looking to scale offshore? And at that time, Phil and the Movac guys were really New Zealand orientated, reinvesting their own money. So it was quite small, quite insular. So I got involved at the end of Fund 2 with the view that Fund 3 would start to attract and invest strangers' money. Mm-hmm. So we become an institutional investor. And bring my networks to bear on the organisation. So at that point, we went out and raised a $42 million fund. That was sort of a mix of both early and later stage venture investments, and the history sort of went from there. So over the years, we've raised, at the end of the cap raise we're just about to complete, it'll be $650 million of capital. We've backed around 55 companies so far, all Kiwi-oriented or Kiwi-based companies at the point that we invest. Awesome. We're tech investors, and you can define tech in a whole bunch of ways, but we see tech as being, providing some sort of competitive moat or competitive advantage in the market.
Yeah, awesome. So if you go back to your thinking, right, when you started at Kia, even before that, right? Is this the career that you saw yourself in?
No.
What did you see yourself doing?
I didn't know. I really didn't know. I came out of university with a BCom in marketing, mm-hmm. Sat through a couple of the graduate interviews, one with BP, one with ANZ. I just did not connect with what they were talking about. I had no interest whatsoever. So look, I saved some money from working at a ski shop, jumped on a plane and went to the UK. I was working away in the accounts department of St Thomas's Hospital in London. A princely, £375 an hour, loving life.
Yeah.
And the recruiter that put me into that job said, Mark, I've got a funny feeling your career is not within the accounts department at St Thomas's. How about you jump on this side of the table and become a recruiter? And look, I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. I think
that's the atypical story for how people get into recruitment.
Yeah. Well, I sort of looked across the table and thought, this guy looks like he's having fun. He's probably on more than $375 an hour. Gets to work with a whole bunch of different clients and different people. What could possibly go wrong? And it was the guy that gave me the chance is a guy by the name of Ben Anderson.
Isn't it funny how we always remember exactly who the person was that gave us opportunities in life?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Ben for me was always a mentor. He was, I would say in the UK market, probably 2 to 3 years ahead of the trends. He was following the American trends and trying to bring those into the US. Really enjoyed him, high energy guy. He, in terms of completing the circle, he's now one of our operating partners at Movac. He's just got a really good perspective on human capital and how we can basically get the best out of people in terms of leadership, both team and personal.
That's interesting, right? Because I do a lot of work with VCs across Australia and New Zealand through via Talent Army, of course, right? So they intro us into their investments, or we work with them with our company Sprinkler, which does people experience. And it's probably the most exciting time that I've seen over the last few years in terms of VC investment companies, PE firms, really going full forward with people experience. And it's exciting, right, to see how the human capital is taken now versus everything else.
Absolutely. I think for a long time, look, we were guilty of this. You think of startups or businesses as functional areas. You're not looking at the human perspective, the human dynamic that sits behind those functional areas. So what we did as a business in our fourth fund was bring in both Ben and one of his partners, Alia, to really help us.
Who's Ben, sorry?
So Ben Anderson,
yep.
The guy that I worked from the UK, and Alia, one of his partners. How do we build that management capability, that management strength that often New Zealanders are criticised, or New Zealand businesses are criticised for not having enough depth or enough capability? So there's been a lot of time with us, with our founders, trying to build up that muscle strength, that core strength in terms of developing better people.
Yeah.
And I think that really came to bear for us when COVID hit. We had 25 founders, CEOs of organisations looking at us for answers. What do we do? And to be honest, we didn't have any answers either. It's like shit has hit the fan in a big way.
Yeah.
Global pandemic was always on the risk register, just minimal chance, massive impact. So no one really thought it through. And it was Alia, and by way of background, Alia is, she's got a PhD in resilience. She worked as an industrial psychologist for a number of years. She's also a trained SAS commando.
Wow, that's a fucking phenomenal background to get into a venture capital.
She is fucking amazing, because when you're dealing with life and death situations, as she's seen,
thinks
very, very clearly, very calmly, very, very simply. And look, I can't. What we saw with COVID with our businesses is nothing like war. But what we did have was 25 faces in boxes on a Zoom screen, wanting answers, wanting leadership. And Alia was an absolute game changer for us, just helping them think through their worries, their concerns. How do you deal with extreme uncertainty? And look, in the background, she doesn't know what's going to happen either, but she could give us and our founders the structure by which they could actually think things through in a really clear way. So I think thinking about the human element to our businesses has been quite cleansing for us in terms of acknowledging we don't know what we don't know. Our teams, our leaders don't know what they don't know. How do we put them in the best position to upskill themselves as not only business people, but also as
humans, right?
As humans.
Yeah. And it's obviously commercially, right? It's a great opportunity to protect your investment if you're able to upskill people, EQ and IQ and everything, right? And so,
exactly. And I think the obvious thing is often the founder who's there on day one may not be there on day 10,000.
Yeah.
How do you build them to be better through that journey to give them the best chance of being there at day 10,000? But if not, plan B, plan C works out well for them as well. It's really important. I think often in our game, it's all about the money. It's all about the investment. It's all about the return. It's all about the hockey stick.
Yeah.
All of that is complete myth in my view.
Well, I'm keen to get into that, right?
Yeah.
But before we do, if I'm listening to this podcast right now, I'm probably selfishly thinking, well, what did Alia tell them? Is there any key topics that you could share that you talked about or, that help? Like, PhD in resilience for me is just like, I want to talk to anyone that has that, right? So is there anything that you can pass on from that?
It's okay to be worried. It's okay to not know what's going to happen in an hour's time or tomorrow. And she used this fantastic analogy of, you're out in the water, you're surfing, you're body surfing, whatever it might be, and you get hit by this rogue wave. So you're underwater, you don't know whether you're upside down, right side up, how deep you are, how shallow you are, but you've just got to relax. You've got to be in the moment, be present in your mind to know that at some point you're going to come to the surface again. And I think for me, and certainly for our folks on Zoom, that really, really resonated. It's okay to be out of control completely. You've got no idea what's going to happen, but clarity will come at some point in time.
Yeah, well, that's a really, really good message for like anyone in any situation that's in high stress, right? Is to just know that you're going to come to the surface soon. So use the most relaxed clarity that you can have so that you can decision make your way through it, right?
Absolutely. It was in that moment that I genuinely thought, we've got the right person on our team.
Yeah.
This will be a game changer for us as an organisation, as an investment firm, but also for those leaders on this call.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, I've seen a lot of hires in the sort of capital game over the last few years, right? There's lots of people popping up, and I look at some of their experience and I think, I'm not sure what value you're adding. Like, you may learn a lot while you're there, right? But I don't know what value you're adding straight away. Like, to hear her background straight away, I'm like, they're all the key things, right? Like, all the key things, like resilience, psychology, like, helping people through, just like passion and people experience. These are the key things that startup founders need, right? Is how to think their way through things, to know that it's going to be fucking tough, and so keep trying.
Exactly. And I think, it's acknowledging the hard stuff, acknowledging the stress and the uncertainty, and that's all fine. It's all completely natural.
Yeah.
Because I think, in that moment of extreme stress and uncertainty and fear, you think, look, I'm the only person experiencing this.
Yeah. Do founders come to you with their fears and concerns outside of COVID, or are they, all right, they're Movac's the money people, I'm not going to tell them, I'm scared that I'll alarm them, and so because my thinking on this is it's changed a little bit. We're being a little bit more vulnerable with people. We're trying to include our, capital partners as much as we can, but still keep them at a little bit of a distance.
Yeah, look, it's a real mix, to be honest, Troy. You get people who enjoy sharing. That's part of who they are. Mm-hmm. They enjoy being open and honest and potentially vulnerable with investors or with directors, whoever might be involved, right through to people you might work with them for 5 years and have no idea who they really are.
Yeah. What do you prefer?
Whatever that person's comfortable with.
Yeah.
They don't need another friend. I don't need more friends. So you need to know where that line is. But being open and honest and sharing in a professional business relationship, I think that's how I get the best out of people, and I think that's how people get the best out of me.
Yeah. And are you scared if they go quiet?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I invested in an entrepreneur. It was probably 8-9 years ago, and before I wrote the check, I did some DD on him. And one of the key things one of his previous bosses had said, when John, not his real name, gets into times of pressure and uncertainty, he goes quiet. He goes completely off the grid, and he starts working 18, 20 hours a day in an unrelenting way, and identifying a way in which you can see those triggers and insert yourself into his life or into his work day in a meaningful way is the best way to pull him out of that. And when stuff got hard, that's exactly what happened to John. You could see it coming, and I think that was helpful for him. It was probably annoying in some ways, because typical founders think, I've got this, leave it to me, I'm the leader, I'm the founder, I'm going to take this from day 1 to day 10,000. Often they're an army of one in their own mind. Yeah. And to your point, sharing that with a director or an advisor or an investor, for them, it's almost an admission of, I'm not bulletproof, or I'm heading towards failure. And that can be really uncomfortable with people, quite clearly. Because I think what I'd underappreciated when I first started in this is, these founders have got so much wrapped up in this business. It's their identity, it's their wealth, opportunity cost of time, credibility, family. It's all that bundled into one thing. so we do sit in quite a position of influence and power, however you want to define that. You got to treat that really, really carefully. I'll never forget the guy, and I would have been in the job, I don't know, 18 months maybe. Met an entrepreneur, and he'd been at his gig for 5 years. And we talked about commitment. He said, look, I've lost my house. I've lost my wife and family. This is going to work. And it was really quite jarring to me at the time because...
Did it work?
No, it didn't. Just sitting in my seat, I really felt like I could lead an investment case and get him some money, invest in a business to help him out, but we won't make money.
Yeah.
The advice I gave to him was keep working on this, but go and get a day job. He'd literally gone down to last few bucks in the bank account. It was pretty confronting for me.
Yeah.
The position or the seat that the VC sits on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because I, as the recruiter, people person, right, I've worked with so many different startup founders now that people just think that I'm this natural knowledge bank of information, that I'll have the answers to a lot of things. And so founders that are too scared to come to people like you because of that, it's not fear of failure, but I think they are, what's the term I'm looking for? They're portraying that they're bigger than they are. I've forgotten the term. It's completely gone blank. But so they will come to me.
They don't want to take the cape off.
Yeah, exactly right. And they'll come to me and they'll say, Troy, I'm fucking too scared to go to the VC, too scared to ask anyone this. You've probably spoken to 1,000 people. What's your thoughts on this? And if I have some thoughts on it, I'll tell them. Most of the time I'm like, look, I don't want to give you advice. I'm a recruiter. Like I've heard it 100 times. But these are the 2 or 3 people that I think you should talk to, and I'll intro them to people to socialize their thoughts and the likes. And so, yeah, it's a tough, challenging situation. But there's a lot of times now where people come to me, and I get the same thing, right? So founders will come to me and say, "Hey, Troy, I've lost my house, I've lost my family, I can't get investment, but I need to hire. Can you find someone that can work for free for shares for me, and can you do it for free for shares for me?" And I found I'm at that position now where I'm like, Mark, we have to chat about this, mate. I can't help you going forward. I need to be really honest with you now and say that this is not going to work, and you need to think about how you can keep it alive, but bring in some money elsewhere, right? Because you're going to lose more than this. And it's a hard conversation to have, man.
Absolutely. I think one of the great things about the sector on the last 15, 20 years is there's been more failures. So the entrepreneur is aware of what failure looks like and its different forms, and it's a thing that happens, right?
When do you first see it and you go, all right, shit, that's troublesome. We need to think about looking into that. Is there a point of tension that you think that's the point that I know that I need to either impact and help or worry?
No. There can be a range of different things. I think, one of the things we used to see a lot was you had an early stage company that had signed a big deal or had a big deal drafted with a major corporate. So it's been negotiating for a long time. Then it starts to sit on legal or sit in procurement. And once the entrepreneur starts relying on hope, that's when you need to step in and, what does plan B look like? You've got everything riding on this deal. This is going to transform the business. But what if it doesn't? What if your sponsor within the organisation gets sacked or leaves? What happens there? So I think that's just one example. Or you put all your resourcing into hiring this A-grade sales team or a couple of key rainmakers in the US, and after 6 months, they've landed nothing.
Yeah,
you've deployed the funds. They've turned out to be absolute duds. There's no pipeline there. Revenue hasn't moved. What do we do now? Yeah. I think we've also got better at putting more active directors on the boards that we're involved with.
Yeah.
So it's not just us observing. We're with the team as well, and they want to step in and help.
Yeah.
They've been through this journey before, often as investors, directors, entrepreneurs in their own right. So you start to get a bit of pattern recognition, even in language that your CEOs, your founders are using.
Yeah.
And you want to preempt that stuff early. We think we can raise capital in January of next year. Well, okay, that's fine. People go to the beach in early December. Just we used to get caught out ourselves, leaving capital raises too late, or relying on that that one enterprise deal to come through before the next capital raise, you can prove the model works. So I think we're all getting better at it. And I think, going back to your point, I also think entrepreneurs are getting better at talking to one another as well and being more open around the challenges around, the business, key hires, their board, their investors. So it's far less adversarial now, I think, than when I got in the industry, 15 years ago. It's a different type of dynamic. There's also, I think, an increasing maturity that it's the investor-entrepreneur relationship shouldn't be adversarial.
Yeah.
It's a journey, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was at old mate Peter from Icehouse, the CTO at Icehouse desk a couple of weeks ago when I was up in Auckland, and he was showing me through all their dashboards and the knowledge that they have on founders and the likes. And I'm always thinking, how much is it? How much information is too much information? How much is not enough? Where's the sweet spot? Is there? And it's interesting hearing your take, because that's most people that I talk to's take. I don't know how much information is enough or too little, because it's depending on the person and how we can help them, or vice versa.
Yeah, look, I think it's become apparent to me over the years, one of the key relationships you can have in an organisation is the relationship between the founder, the CEO, and the chair.
Yeah.
You should, my observation would be they have a far closer relationship on a bunch of different fronts compared to a entrepreneur investor or entrepreneur director investor relationship.
So you don't think it should be the CEO and chair, a la Succession?
Oh, look, it depends who's in the CEO seat at the time. Could be the founder, could be a new CEO, whoever it might be. But I think the person leading the organisation and the person leading the board need to be in absolute sync with one another.
Yeah, cool. Hey, so people listening to this podcast are going to be thinking, all right, well, Troy, you've got this guy on the podcast that gives out lots of money. We said that $600 million. Is that like how much you've raised so far?
Yeah.
Fucking awesome, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.
It's really fucking cool. Like it was cool to hear about the latest fund. Is it going to be harder for folks to give out, like to receive money? Because that's what people are telling me at the moment. It's challenging to get money now, etc.
Yeah, look, it's absolutely different capital market to what it was 12 months ago. And I think that's a global thing. I think you'd had a lot of money in the system.
Yeah.
It had a lot of deals that got funded. I think moving forward, you're going to have just as much entrepreneurship and opportunity. There's just going to be a reduced amount of cash, both locally and offshore.
Yeah.
So investors, first and foremost, I think about how do I prop out and support our existing portfolio.
Yeah.
And then secondly, in terms of new deals, being that much more rigorous around due diligence, the plan.
When you say rigorous around due diligence, what do you mean by that? Because, like a lot, I've been involved in startups where due diligence has been hilarious, right? Like they've called me up and they're like, hey, Troy, have you got this? Have you got a document like this? We need it within 3 hours,
Yeah, look, I think, to be frank, on the investor side, with there have been investors that have been happy to do no due diligence at all. That's not our style.
What's the biggest thing you're looking for in DD?
That's a great question. I think if I break it down into team, a few different ways: team, market, solution, then financials. Mm-hmm. So what does the team look like that you're backing? What's the market they're looking to attack? And what's the solution they've got to attack that market? Generalizing. And then what's the financial model that underpins that? I think moving forward, VCs worldwide are really realizing that the unit economics of some of the businesses that we've backed in the past just do not stack up. Uber being a classic example. That's only surviving because investors keep on tipping on money.
Yeah.
So that's how we break down the due diligence that we do. In terms of team, I'm thinking, Troy as the founder, what do we need to pack in around him as an entrepreneur? What's he really good at? Look, he's a marketing guru, he's a sales guru. Yeah. What support do we need to put in behind him to mop up the detail?
Yeah.
Or we have a product-led CEO where they're relying on sales capability within the organisation to grow the revenue. Yeah. So a whole bunch of different angles there. The trick with due diligence is if you spend long enough in DD, you can talk yourself out of making the investment.
Yeah.
So it is a really sort of fine line between being really thorough and being overly thorough. But we want to make sure there's, at the point we invest, there's no surprises, past that point that we could have actually found out about before we went in.
Yeah. Interesting, right? Because I work with so many early stage startups that as a recruiter, family-owned business here, I own, I haven't got investment. I need to worry about who's going to pay my invoices, right?
Yeah.
So I have to do a little bit of DD on them myself, right?
Absolutely.
When I engage with them. And so it's the same things that I go through, right? So I'm looking at the people, the scalability, their market strategy, have they got any money in there at the moment? Like a lot of these things. And then when I'm looking at the people, it's the same thing, right? I'm like, I'll say to the CEO, founder, okay, yeah, you've got these skill sets. Why are you talking about these roles when I can see that there's a clear, misfit here? Like you need this person, right? But you need a CTO right now. You need this person right now. And it's depending on how they answer those questions that I want to engage with them going forward.
I think you've touched on something really important. The way they answer questions and respond to challenge, I think, is a really good insight in terms of how they'll deal with their own employees, with their customers, and so forth. So, due diligence is part of the negotiation. How does this person perform when we're throwing them a whole bunch of questions? How do they think about different variables within the business? And that goes to the relationship building part of it. We get back in the day, we'd get quite frustrated. Entrepreneur would walk in the room looking to raise capital for X, Y, Z. That's great, Troy. When do you need to raise by? End of next month. Okay, so not only do we need to come up with the speed with the business really, really quickly, but it doesn't give you much of an opportunity to develop that relationship either.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time with companies and entrepreneurs. We've got to the end of the process, and to be honest, we've sat across the different sides of the table and said, I don't think we can work with one another. You're a certain type of entrepreneur that a formal board structure or a fund in behind you is just going to drive you insane.
Yeah.
And I think being able to walk away on the basis that, look, good luck to one another, but I don't think we can work together is actually, I think, pretty mature.
Yeah.
There's one company, South Island-based company, doing 25 million in revs. We talk to them when they're doing 10. Long conversation, but we got to the point, we're going to drive each other insane. You don't need me or us on your back. Your best is a free spirit to go and do what you want to do, and your strategy will be crafted almost month to month.
What's the company that you fucked that up on, and you're like, fuck, I should have invested?
Oh, look, we said no to Xero twice, and I'd known Rod since Surf Club days when I'm other partners was at school with Rod.
Did you say no because you knew Rod from Surf Club days? Or?
No. It was, look, the two reasons for us was we couldn't get excited about accounting software.
Yeah.
And the second thing was, so our compulsion to invest just wasn't there, despite Rod's, the energy and uniqueness of Rod. And the second part was we think this is going to require a huge amount of capital, and running a fund of, back in those days, $12 million, it just wasn't going to be a fit for us.
Yeah.
And look, I think what he's done has been transformational.
Yeah.
The other one that I said no to was PushPay. And what I saw at that point in time, the info that I had to work with, this is before they got into the religious giving space, I couldn't get there. And again, good luck to them. They proved me wrong.
Yeah. To be honest, exactly the same too for me, right? So I knew Hamish Edwards really well. Yep. We were neighbours in the Wairarapa. He was telling me about this Xero thing, and I was like, it's never going to fucking take off. You're never going to get accountants to go to the cloud, right? You're never going to get them to share information. And so I was like, no way. Fucking phenomenal. Did really well. I don't think they realised the challenge as well.
Yeah.
But they pushed past it and did well.
Absolutely. And I think the really key thing for us is when we say no to a potential investment is go for it. Prove us wrong.
Yeah.
This is just our opinion on a certain given day or a certain point in time. Go for it. Keep us in the loop. Keep us updated. We've invested in a number of companies that we've said, look, no, not yet. Keep us updated.
Why did you say no the second time? And I'm surprised that Rod came back to you the second time. I hear he's got a really great fuck you list.
Look, we may be on it now. I'm not sure. Yeah. Funnily enough, we've just invested alongside Rod at Atomic.
Yeah.
Same reasons, to be honest. We had a small fund at that point. It would have literally been betting the house and more on one company, and from a portfolio perspective, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But you need, to a certain degree, the entrepreneur to walk out the room going, fantastic, I'm going to prove you wrong. Absolutely brilliant. Go for it. If that's what motivates you, fantastic. And as I said, we always keep the door open. If it's within our mandate, absolutely come back and talk to us again. And I think some of the best entrepreneurs in the ecosystem are the ones that have walked out of the room and have every quarter sent us an update. Track Plus and Dunedin, I followed that business for 10 years before we invested. The entrepreneur I referred to before, for 4 years, every quarter he'd send me his update, good, bad, or otherwise.
Got some good people going to that team recently too, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is a long-term game. It's not about the pitch or the session with the IC. It's around multiple engagements over a number of over a period of time to develop that relationship. Look, I'm talking about the more mature companies that are requiring larger amounts of capital. At the early part of the market, those pre-revenue companies, it's a far quicker cadence.
Yeah.
It's really an idea on a piece of paper, smart team in behind that idea.
Actually, can we stop? Come put a pin in that for a second, because I want to talk to that. Right. Lots of folks we're in this really cool time. I love the GFC, lots of recession, right? Lots of people starting companies because they were like, I've got no job, I may as well do this thing that's been burning away at me. Same thing, right? Like Xero and a bunch of people have laid off a bunch of people. And so a bunch of people now are going into that, like, if I don't do this now, I'll never do it. And so we're going to see a lot of sprouts pop up in the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
The people that have done this, the people that have worked in Xero for most of their career, or worked in a big corporate, or they're sort of trying to get their head around, all right, how do I do this? How do I get investment? What do I need to do? And so if you, Mark, were doing a startup right now because of that, talk me through the process how you would try and build the company to go out and get investment. Like what are the key things and the milestones and things that you need to do? Bootstrapping it from day one?
And I shouldn't be saying this as an investor, but if you can bootstrap yourself the whole way through, absolutely. It's but what I do on day one is go and talk to some others that have done it before. I think New Zealand, in my perspective, we're fantastic at sharing information. You can get a meeting or a coffee or a Zoom with anyone from the PM down, essentially. So you, rather than trying to craft your own plan, go and talk to those who have crafted a plan before. But I think in order to get the confidence of an investor, whether it be a friends and family, an angel, seed investor, whatever it might be, is put your thoughts down on a piece of paper and the plan and go and refine it. Every meeting you have, go and refine it or sense check it.
So should they be asking for investment from friends and friends and family while it's on paper?
Look,
or do they need to build it first? Is I guess what I'm trying to say.
I think just giving confidence, at each point that you're looking to raise capital, what you're going to achieve with that capital. So it could be going and raising $100,000 to build a prototype, or it could be raising $1 million to hire your first couple of external developers, or whatever it might be. But just bring the plan, gain the confidence of potential investors that you can execute with this plan to get you to a certain milestone in the future, at which point you'll need to raise more capital. But all the time have in mind what's the market that we're going after, because often these markets will move, they'll shift. There'll be different competitors, different technologies, different market dynamics going on all the time. So be mindful of that while you're crafting up your solution to attack that market with. But I think listening is really, really key. Really key. In my view, or my perspective, the best entrepreneurs, the best sales folks even, they're fantastic listeners. They'll pick up on some wordage or some themes or even body language. Right, I'm going to use that.
Play it back. Yeah, indeed. What's the fluff or the bullshit on a pitch deck?
We've seen a fair few hockey sticks in our time. We've seen trends and buzzwords. AI, clearly it's quite transformational, but plugging AI into a deck when it's got nothing to do with your business is pretty naive. We've had it with big data, a whole bunch of other buzzwords that people have inserted in along the way.
So just get ChatGPT to write it. Don't actually put them on the document.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then get your 13-year-old child to make sure that it can't be
found
out. Exactly.
They've got the knowledge at school now.
That's right.
Awesome. So from what I'm going to try to ask, what I'm asking here is, I get lots of people come to me, early stage founders, and they're scared. They're like, I don't know how much I should invest. Should I get investment straight away? Should I get friends and family? And I'm always like, well, I say as well, I'll do some investment as well, and I do investing in my time, recruiting someone, and I don't want to waste either. And I'll say to them, well, look, I want to see that you've invested something in it, right? I want to see that you've invested sweat equity, or whether you put your own money in it, because I want that commitment that you're in this. And then I want to see the other people about their commitment as well, like those early stage people, right? And so, because it's hard, right? Like trying to do a startup is hard. You have to sacrifice a salary if you're starting, and then you have to attract people that are going to come to you that might also want to, remove something from their life, whether it's security, safety, money, etc. And so it's much more beneficial for me as an investor or as a recruiter to see that they've invested them, they've gone a bit of a journey before and validated it a little bit before they've gone out seeking money. Because if they seek money straight away, I'm a little bit concerned that they don't have that scar tissue in them.
Yeah. Look, what I do, and we're seeing a bunch of really good entrepreneurs do this, is go and talk to people when you're not raising money. Even if it's that first seed round, talk to some potential seed investors. Be really clear, look, I'm not raising money, but what would I need to do to achieve or to have you enthused about potentially seed round or a VC round or a PE round. So talk to the relevant investors before you actually need to engage with them, because what we're saying before, they'll give you some really strong leads on what they need to see.
Yeah.
They want to see more opportunities. They want to invest in you, but give them the evidence, the proof that by backing you, they can get what they're looking for.
What's your take on loaning people money and or like Tractor Ventures and stuff, what they're doing? What's your take on that?
Oh, it depends on the specifics of the business. Sounds
like a no to me.
Well, I don't want to give a blanket answer. I think what Tractor and the likes of Kirsty are doing there, it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. No, I think a high level comment may not be fair, because all companies are different.
Yeah.
You might be at a certain point whereby it makes no sense to raise a priced round, so a convertible note or venture debt or whatever else it might be makes sense in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think that the best thing that for an entrepreneur is they have choices.
Yeah.
They have the ability to make the best choice at that point in time.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I just wanted to make you sweat a little bit there. And
That's fine. Look, and given the changing capital markets, it'll be interesting to see how venture debt plays itself out in the next few years.
Yeah, the only thing I have concern about with venture debt, right, is that you don't have that partner for the long term, that is really going to be not just trying to get their money back in the interim, but partnering you for forever, right? And so
look, some of the terms that we've seen in venture debt from other partners, not Tractor, have been really, really prohibitive, in that they almost want the business to fail to a point that they can exercise the terms in their agreement for maximum benefit.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a great place to be for anyone, right? Why would you want a capital partner that wants you to fail, essentially, or come very close to failing? Not completely die, but they can extract their full pound of flesh.
Yeah.
So in cases where we've looked at companies that have had venture debt in them, we've typically come in and bought the venture debt out just to clean up the capital stack.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So tell me about founders, right? So I'm interested to hear your take on a founder. There is it's a weird paradigm that we live in now, where you've got your ramen founders that wear your hoodies, or wear whatever they wear because they can't afford to buy clothes, and they're just throwing everything into their company. You don't hear from them. They're all in a cave somewhere. They're working in a lounge room and the likes. And then you've got this modern founder now, which is like, visual influencer online and the likes. We had one in New Zealand, unfortunately, the guy that took his life, that felt a lot of pressure with the Gucci loafers and all that sort of stuff, right? And so you have these, interesting polar opposites now. Like, is there an atypical person?
No.
What are the pros and cons of each?
Apart
from looking good in shoes and clothes.
Look, I think what's that person, what's that individual, what's their key strengths, how are they best placed to build that business to attack that opportunity. And they can wear, Gucci's or better.
It's less about the clothes, more about
But often clothing will come through as a demonstration of their personality.
True.
And who they are. And they might dress in a certain way on day one. Are they presenting themselves in a certain way on day 5, day 50 or whatever? So it's around that authenticity. I think what we've found often is people have this perception of going to pitch to VCs. I need to wear the expensive watch and look the part, or I need to look like Zuckerberg in a black hoodie. Be your authentic self, because that's who we're investing in. That's who we're going to be alongside, in the long term through good and bad. And then it also demonstrates in who they hire. Who are they surrounding themselves with? What types of people, what types of background, what does diversity look like, however you want to define it. But you're backing that credibility, that authenticity, because when shit really happens, that's what you're counting on in terms of personality and resilience to really push on.
Yeah. How important is diversity?
I think,
and I'd prefer your real answer on this. I know it's political, like a hand grenade that I'm throwing you, right? But is there a difference between a female founder and a male founder?
Absolutely.
And what are the differences?
I think there's different styles.
Yeah.
I just think there's and it can be diversity in terms of age as well. There's different styles. I think there's no, and maybe I'm missing a trick here. I just don't think in what I see I can generalise too much.
Yeah.
You've got someone like Carmen at Velocity, who is a force of nature. Angie at Dexhibit, absolute force of nature. I've seen other female founders who are relatively introverted and less energetic, equally capable, equally backable, but just present themselves in a different way. Or their personality demonstrates itself in a different way. Exactly the same with males. Guy Horrocks from Solve, before that Carnival Labs, he is, as a presenter, one of the best pitches you've ever seen. He is open, engaging, energetic, insightful, compared to other entrepreneurs that, again, they demonstrate themselves in a different way. Look, that's a long-winded way of saying that diversity presents itself in a whole bunch of different ways. We have founders in their 50s. We have founders in their 20s. It's about buying into them, their story, how they've come to this point to identify this opportunity. That's what we're backing.
Yeah.
And look, I, in a pretty clumsy way, to be brutally honest, 4 years ago, there were 4 guys at Movac doing what we do. Now we have a team of soon to be 12, and we're 50-50 by gender.
Yeah.
I didn't go out seeking diversity. I went out seeking to hire the best people I could find in the market. What I did need to make sure of was my catch or my reach was as wide as possible to catch people of different backgrounds and different perspectives to make sure I can make the best possible hire.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And I think diversity, the push for diversity and inclusion has helped us to remove our biases a little bit, to be able to say we might not have been like fishing from that big of a pond traditionally, right? You might have gone just to your bros network because you had that feeling of trust and safety. Right now, our feeling of trust and safety is an alarm bell to say, oh, actually, no, let's increase it and interview people that challenge our thought or we don't know, and it's not the same people sitting around the table. And so I think, and to go back to your point, right? So you talked about a couple of folks, like a couple of people like Angie and co, who are go-getters and real opportunists. And I often wonder is like the people that are my age or older, right? I'm 43. I worry that female founders that are at my age or older have had to take on male traits to be successful and credible in business. And because of their hard work of pushing forward and doing all this cool, like fucking being aggressive and getting in there and saying, well, fuck you, I don't care, what the ratio is, I'm going to get in there and do it anyway. It's cleared the path a little bit for female founders now who can be, a little bit more introverted or don't have to display, male traits to be able to be successful. And so that's what I love about diversity now is that people can be anyone. They can be whoever the fuck they want. And the product may be different because of the way they act. And so...
Yeah, absolutely. And look, at the end of the day, we want to back the right person at the right time with the right opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mark people up or down or otherwise in terms of personality.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, is this someone in the fight that I think has got a better than even chance of winning?
Yeah,
and that goes to smarts, resilience, capability.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome. Hey, so what's we used the last season, if you've heard the podcast, I assume you've listened to a couple,
absolutely.
You said I'd ask people what makes them happy. I'm not going to ask you that, right? The question I'm going to be asking this season now is what's the one place someone should go to upskill themselves, whether it be a person, a podcast, a newsletter, a blog, etc. What's one place you would say everyone should go and look at this?
Great question.
So we're going to pop this in the show notes below so that people can go off and seek it. Like there was a website you sent me actually when we were doing Discovery that I started reading and I'm fascinated by now.
Prof Galloway?
Yeah.
Scott Galloway, unbelievable. And look, I'm probably late to the party here. I've been following and listening to him for probably, 18 months, 2 years. I just think his brutal honesty and calling out of stuff in an industry that can get quite complicated if you think about investment. I think that's a really, really good resource. I'm mindful of providing a whole bunch of podcasts and websites that people go and commit a whole bunch of time to. Because if I take a step back, I think the best learnings are from your peers. So if I was a founder starting a business, I'd go and talk to who have been some of the successful entrepreneurs in my space or successful investors in my space. What can I go and learn from Joanne X or Bob D? That's where I'd be seeking learning over and above this information flow from the likes of Galloway and others.
Yep.
The other thing I think we need to be really careful of is a lot of this content is originating out of the US. That's a certain type of ecosystem, a certain type of mindset. Pick out the nuggets, but don't become a disciple of it.
Yeah, that's why everyone should listen to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast, right?
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what we're trying to do is show Kiwi stories. And
because I think, having just spent some time up in the US, it's a very, very specific ecosystem. You've got a different.
It's really niche, right? So, like, if you want to be, if you are doing pricing with your SaaS product, right? There is absolute pricing heroes that you can go and talk to. That's all they fucking do for a job is pricing in that domain, like pricing in the transport and logistics SaaS space,
Boom.
right? And
you'll have a whole bunch of VCs that sit around that space that are absolute specialists. They have a wall of analysts and investment managers that can produce you the best white papers or insights on pricing for that market in that territory.
Yeah.
We don't have that here.
No, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing that we work with. We've got this ecosystem that we've created. It is unique. It has its strengths and weaknesses, but it is what it is. I had a lunch with one of our advisory board members up in the valley. He's ex-client of Perkins, Randy Commissar. Talking about ecosystems, don't fall into the trap of trying to create someone else's ecosystem in this one, or replicate or mirror. Take some of the good things or some of the learnings, refine, but don't try and change or overlay.
Yeah.
So I think one of the big challenges we have with entrepreneurs, it's hard enough anyway, let alone when you listen to this wall of information through podcasts and other sources, that unless you're growing 300% a quarter, you're not going to chin the bar.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just delusional bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's good. Great advice, mate.
And it's pretty demoralising too, right? We have it from our own perspective. We've just raised a $200 million fund in a world where our counterparts are raising $2 billion funds.
Yeah.
So what? Easy to feel insignificant or irrelevant or not as relevant, but it's different ecosystem, different mindset, different expectations. You've got to live in the place that you're operating.
Awesome. So good advice. So if you left Movac tomorrow and you're building your own product, right, whatever it may be, hypothetically, who are the people that your peers that you'd want to go and talk to? Like, who are the people that you go, oh, they really impressed me? I'm doing this for two reasons.
This probably defines the nature of the village that we operate in, but probably someone like Serge Van Dam, who's my brother-in-law, as a disclaimer. But I think Serge's perspectives are often, brutally honest, really insightful, and normally right, which is quite annoying as a brother-in-law. He also gives a shit. So I think, we need to be really careful about opinions and views. They need to come from the right place, but also a place from a place of good intent, but also experience. Everyone can opine on everything, but you need to get it from a trusted, insightful, experienced source. So someone like Serge, ticks the bill for me.
Yeah. Well, let's get the fuck out away from the family now, though, mate. Like, let's have a unsafe person. Is there anyone out there that you're like,
Ryan?
Super impressive?
Ryan Simpson.
Yep. Mind you, I agree. That's the reason why I got Serge on the podcast. Number one episode, right, is completely for exactly what you said. I knew that I'd get the real story with some great lessons and some really good strategic thinking around startups.
Yep.
So I completely agree with you, by the way.
Yeah, I think Rowan's a contrarian, as we all know. I think he's a contrarian thinker, but he's well thought. He thinks through things really, really well. He's a good human side to him as well. He's a really empathetic, smart, clever, experienced guy.
Yeah.
Who would the third be? I think the
just on Rowan.
Yeah.
We talked about this before, right? Rowan, I sent Rowan a text. He sent me like a whole 3 paragraphs on why he may or may not come on. But one of the things he said to me before he comes on is he needs to think about what is he selling. And so he said, and then we caught up for lunch actually, and had a really lovely lunch and debated lots of things. And he said to me, "What are people actually selling on your podcast, Troy? What are they selling?" And I was like, "Well," and I gave him a few variations on what I think they're selling. What are you selling on this podcast? Like, what's your stance on it?
A VC's perspective.
Mm-hmm. And what does that mean?
How you engage with the VC, what they're thinking about when they invest in you, what they do after they've invested, what they're seeking.
Yeah. Is that to make you more approachable, or is that to send the elevator of information back down for people to learn?
Both.
Yeah, cool.
Both. I'm more than happy to take meetings with wannabe entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, late stage entrepreneurs. I go back to what we were saying before, the person that's giving it a crack. You can always be that timid person on the sideline, commentating, criticising, but you want to be the person or back the person that walks across the white line and has a go.
Yeah, awesome.
And look, we, for years, we were sponsors of the Young Enterprise Trust, basically putting entrepreneurship courses through New Zealand schools. We spent a whole bunch of time and money on that because we knew it was good for the ecosystem, and at some point it produced entrepreneurs we can go on and back later on.
Yeah, awesome. Great, mate. I appreciate that. And the third person, I cut you off, sorry.
An industry specialist, someone who I don't know now, but is an expert in the industry that I'm looking to go into. They can help sanity check what I'm doing, and they're easily accessible and available as well. But you really need to, you've got a perspective of one at that point in time. How do you build out a series of perspectives to become, your plan becomes insightful, then actionable?
Yeah, cool. Awesome, mate. Hey, I appreciate your honesty there, mate. It's good. And so now that we're sort of getting to the end of the podcast, with Movac, right, how would we sell Movac? So why should people come and approach Movac if they're looking to raise capital?
Look, great question. I think it's a question that I've had to answer to potential investors over the last 6 months as we're raising the most recent fund. I think if you think about it in terms of 3 areas, capital, quite clearly, capability, and that we've been doing this for a good amount of time. We've got plenty of expensive scar tissue that we want to utilise, and also networks and connections. How can we be an expert on wireless power or EV charging or some of the more deep science plays or deep tech plays that we're investing in? So we may not know, but we know people that can go and can be pointed to go and find the answers.
Yeah.
So I think the idea that the VC is more than just capital is really, really important to us, because the capital gets you and the entrepreneur to the start line. It's what happens after that you're really measured on.
Yeah, awesome. I've got a funny feeling you may be inundated with people sending you the results every quarter off the back of this podcast. Yeah.
Fantastic. Look, absolutely. It goes to what I was saying before. We want to open the funnel as wide as possible. And I think the key thing for us, we think one of our guiding lights, without sounding too up ourselves, is we want to create wealth and high value jobs for New Zealanders. The idea of us being able to support or create an ecosystem whereby we are spitting out the push pays, the zeros of this world, the power by proxies, the VENs. He says name dropping some of his portfolio companies in the later part of that. That's really critically important because A, it's good for us as a community, as a society, but B, we can do it. We've proven we can do it. For a long time, the idea of a $1 billion company being founded in Wellington at the other side of the planet compared to where its potential customers are going to be, you wouldn't dream about it. You wouldn't have even vocalized it until someone did. Yeah, now awesome. The clock speeding up. Young entrepreneurs are thinking, shit, well, if Rod and others are doing it, why can't we do it? I want to come out of school and create my own company. I don't want to go and do a graduate role at BP or ANZ or go and waste my life away in a consulting firm. I want to go and create a business and take on a massive opportunity. Boom.
Go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't waste your time getting a BCom or something at the university, right?
Who'd do that?
Awesome, mate. Hey, so last final question to you. Who's the guest that you would love to see on the podcast?
Look, there's a couple. I think Stephen Tyndall has a great story to tell from his perspective around thinking really long term. How do you transform an industry for long term betterment? We've had the benefit of working for Sir Stephen a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think his insights are really, really important.
I've tried to get him, so I'm going to hit you up as a referral after this.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our advisors, and he's been a long-term mentor of mine, David Teese, business professor at Berkeley, is also the founder and chair of BRG, which is a consulting group, turns over $1 billion US.
Yeah.
He described himself as a boy from Blenheim who tried hard. Awesome. Amazing thinker in areas of management capability and intellectual property. So just folks like Stephen and David, they think big. Yeah. They think really big. They don't worry about the naysayers and the grief seekers. They think, boom, I'm going to go after this. It may take me 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but I'm going to go after it. I think those people that transform industries and create ambition, I think they're critically important. And we can get them on this podcast, I don't know, but it's worth a go.
Yeah. Like I've never been one not to try, so I appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Hey, mate, well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm not sure how much jet lag you had to push through this morning to come on after jumping on the NZ1 to get back here for my podcast, of course.
Oh, one above helps.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this one. It was a great chat.
Pleasure. Cheers, Roy.
Cheers, mate. That was awesome, Mark. I really appreciate you coming in. That was such a cool podcast. And one thing that I really took away is that message in COVID, you're underwater, you don't know where you are, you don't know which way is up, you don't know when you're going to get to the surface because you're so freaked out, and to just try and calm down, slow yourself down and think your way out of it was such a pertinent message. And so it's really important to me that VCs and PEs and everyone is actually taking a people approach to their businesses these days and not just a venture and capital approach. And I felt like that was really pertinent and relevant with Mark. It was great for the commander to come back and hear what's happening behind him, or to hear what's happening in the business, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And I hope you really got a few takeaways from that. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all of our subscribers. Our subscribers are nearing a big point that I really want to announce. And so jump on there and do it now if you haven't, so that I can announce that and be like every other podcaster and YouTuber and, celebrating the success of that. So thank you so much. Until next time.
This podcast is produced by John O'Tucker from Empire Film.